You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and yesterday's game separated the smart Jets fans from the stupid Jets fans. All the people rooting for the Jets to lose yesterday so that they can get the first overall pick and get Trevor Lawrence are idiots. There's no other word for it. Now, that's not because I think he's going to stay in school. I do think he's going to come out. Is it possible that he stays at Clemson? Yes. But I still think he's going to come out. So, Jacob, how can you begrudge Jets fans for wanting their team to lose and get the first overall pick? There's a really easy explanation for that. They could have won yesterday and still have been in prime position for the first overall pick. How is that so hard for people to understand? The Jets right now are 0-9. It's November 10th. We're still not 100% sure who's going to be president 3 months from now. Maybe Donald Trump's lawsuits result in him winning. Snowball's chance in hell, but it's still out there. It's still a remote possibility. So it's a good thing that they get the first overall pick. Yes, I'm in full agreement with you that the best thing this team can do is get the first overall pick. But they may not need to go winless to do it. If the Jets would have won yesterday, they would have been 1-8. And they'd be spared the ignoble distinction of being a winless team. The Jaguars are 1-7. The Jets would still have the first overall pick. This isn't rocket science. You want to tell me that can change in a week? You're right. The Jaguars have the Packers this week. There is no chance on this earth that the Packers are going to lose to the Jaguars. There's a reason that they're 14-point favorites. It's at Lambeau. The Packers are winning that game. So then both teams are 1-8. The Jaguars, as of right now, have the tiebreaker. The tiebreaker is strength of schedule. Whichever team has the easiest schedule gets the first pick. The Jets, as of right now, have faced the hardest schedule out of any team in the NFL. The Jaguars have faced the fourth easiest. So yes, the Jaguars have the tiebreaker. But we have 7 more games. You're telling me this Jaguars team that came within 2 points of beating the Texans with Jake Luton as quarterback can't find a way to win another game? December 6th at Minnesota, the Jaguars face the Vikings. That's a winnable game for the Jaguars. At the end of the season, maybe the Ravens aren't playing for anything. Maybe the Bears aren't playing for anything. Maybe the Colts aren't playing for anything. They can win those games. My point is, the notion that the Jets need to be winless to get the first overall pick isn't true. The A1 scenario for the Jets is that they go 1-15 and still get the first overall pick. Very possible. And if you want to look ahead to strength of schedule, the Jaguars can catch up. Look at these opponents. Packers, Steelers, Browns, Vikings, Titans, Ravens, Bears, Colts. All but one of those teams, the Vikings, are in the playoff hunt right now. You take a look at the Jets' schedule. They have the bye this week. Thank God I don't have to watch them this week. The Chargers, Dolphins, Raiders, Seahawks, Rams, Browns, and Patriots. I don't know who's going to end up with the strength of schedule tiebreaker. As of right now, it's the Jaguars. But we still have 7 games left to go. A lot of things can happen. The point I'm making is, while a winless season does guarantee you the first overall pick, you can still get one win and have a possibility of getting first overall. That's what you want as a Jets fan. You don't want to be mentioned in the same breath as the 76 Buccaneers, the 08 Lions, the 17 Browns. You don't want that. What's the difference between 1 win and 0 wins? The answer is pride. That does mean something. You want to tell me that you don't want to take that chance? You want to guarantee yourself the first overall pick by going winless? Fine. I don't. I think that's a ridiculous mindset. I wanted to win yesterday. Another second half collapse. You're up 10, headed into the fourth quarter. The Patriots are reeling. Joe Flacco, with a vintage Flacco performance. The guy looked like he was going to win Super Bowl MVP again. Let me tell you, when Sam Darnold comes back, you can make the argument that Flacco should start against the Chargers. The Jets only ran 4 plays in the fourth quarter. Here's how they went. Interception, completion over the middle to LaMichael Pirine, who's terrible, by the way. Sack, and an incompletion. Those last 3 plays happened in a 2-minute drill. How do you take a sack in a 2-minute drill? How do you throw an incompletion on 3rd down in a 2-minute drill? How do you allow this Patriots team that has gotten nothing going all year to drop 30 on you? The thing that drove me nuts the most yesterday was seeing all these Jets fans rooting for the Patriots. Like this is going to somehow screw the Jets out of Trevor Lawrence. This was Belichick's master plan. First up, the Jets still would have had a higher pick than the Patriots. The only team the Jets have to worry about is the Jaguars. I'm not saying the Jaguars aren't a concern. But don't worry about the Patriots. Don't worry about 7 weeks from now. Win this game. The idea that you need to go winless to get the first overall pick isn't true. And also, I'm not watching every Jaguars game, but from what I've seen, their offense hasn't been awful. Gardner Minshew hasn't had a bad season. He's been pretty good. He's completed 66% of his passes. He's throwing for 265 yards a game, 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. James Robinson looks like a solid running back. They have a solid wide receiver core. DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, Keelan Cole, Chris Conley. The biggest issues for the Jaguars are offensive line and defense. If the Jaguars got the first overall pick, it wouldn't stun me if they traded down. The Jets are in prime position in that spot. They'd have their own pick to offer, which is probably going to be second overall. They have the Seahawks first. Quinnen Williams. Some other picks. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Now, you Jaguars fans would have to tell me whether or not you'd be okay with that. Admittedly, I'm looking at it as a Jets fan, but I honestly don't think it's unreasonable to think that the Jaguars could trade down. All these Jets fans rooting for losses. So stupid, so ridiculous. There are cases when it's okay to root against your team. If it's a lost season and you're fighting for that first overall pick, I get it. The Jets really aren't. They're in prime position for it. As of right now, do the Jaguars have the tiebreaker? Yes. But we've got 7 weeks to go. A lot of things can happen. If the Jaguars win another game, and the Jets are still winless, I want to see every Jets fan saying, let's win just one game. I don't care if it's the last game of the season. Avoid that distinction of being a winless team. There were 2 other things that drove me nuts watching that game. The first, the inept second half. The Jets only ran 15 plays in the entire second half. Again, 4 in the fourth quarter. 11 in the third. The one third quarter drive they had resulted in a touchdown. I get that. But before that, you allowed the Patriots to march down the field on a 13-play drive that took over half the quarter. Can you make a stop? This Jets defense is anemic. The defensive line that I praised, they couldn't get any sort of push. The best player on the Jets defense yesterday was Harvey freaking Longy. You wouldn't know Harvey Longy if he came to your house and delivered you a pizza. You allow this crazy 18-play drive to start out the fourth quarter. This was death by a million paper cuts. This defense is dreadful. Greg Williams is useless. The Jets commit another roughing the passer. They now have 10. That leads the league. The team in second only has 4. It's a 3-way tie between the Falcons, Ravens, and Cowboys. This defense is undisciplined. This defense is untalented. this defense is poorly coached. It is death by a million paper cuts. Watching that game yesterday, you see Greg Williams sending pressure. He's sending 5. He's only dropping 6 back into coverage. Got burned constantly. Pierre Desir was dreadful. Bless Austin looked okay. I'll give him credit. That may have been his best game of the season. Maybe. I don't know. I would really need to think about it. Bryce Hall got burned. The second to last play of the game. I understand his first NFL game. I can't go too crazy, but still. That's a big play. Come up and make a play. No one on this defense could cover Jacoby freaking Myers. This isn't Wes Welker we're talking about. This is Jacoby Myers. He had 12 catches for 169 yards. Let me tell you, nothing cures a struggling team like going up against the Jets. Cam Newton got his head screwed on straight. Played really well. Damian Harris and Rex Burkhead looked like a really good 1-2 punch. Damiere Byrd, 5 catches, 65 yards. The Patriots scored 30 points. That's the most points they've scored since September 27th when they beat the Raiders. They only scored 28 points the entire month of October. They eclipsed that in one game against the Jets. The other thing that ticked me off, there were a lot of things that ticked me off, but the second thing I was thinking of was how this team can look good. The Jets looked good in the first half. They really did. And then the second half, they fall flat. Maybe Adam Gase should take over play calling in the second half. Loggins calls the first half, Gase calls the second half. You're 0-9, you might as well try it. Every time they showed Gase his eyes, he looked defeated. Joe Douglas looked like he was taking a nap. I'm not kidding. Every time they panned to him in his luxury box, looked like he was sleeping. Well, I wasn't sleeping. I watched every play of that garbage team. That team that you put together. This is their ceiling. This is as well as they can play. Jets fans don't need to worry about winning another game until January 3rd because there is no team who they have left, except the Patriots, who they can hang with. The Chargers, forget about it. Justin Herbert is gonna slice and dice them like minced meat. The Dolphins, they already shut out the Jets. The Raiders, no chance. The Seahawks, no chance. The Rams, Sean McVay is going to have a field day going up against this dreadful defense. The Browns, no chance. The Patriots, you'll be 0-15 at that point. Yeah, you're going to flip a switch and be competitive. But again, what ticked me off more than anything was seeing all the Jets fans rooting for the Patriots, rooting for Belichick. Don't you want to beat Belichick? He's freaking Bill Belichick. There's no guarantee that a 1-win season costs you the first overall pick. Are there some instances where it's okay to root against your team? Yes. This wasn't one of them. I'll say this. If the Jaguars win against the Packers, it's not going to happen. Okay, it's not. But, for argument's sake, if they do, and the Jets beat the Chargers, again, not going to happen, and the Jaguars lose to the Steelers that same week, week 11, the Jets will have one win, and the Jaguars, along with a bunch of other teams, will have 2 wins. I don't want to be thrown into that craziness. I'll root for the Jets to stay at 1-15. As it stands right now, there are 6 teams that have 2 wins. The Bengals, Chargers, Texans, Washington, the Cowboys, and the Giants. I don't want to be thrown into crazy tiebreakers with all those teams. If you throw in the Jaguars and Jets, that's 8. I don't want to be in the middle of that. I mean, I understand there are some teams that are guaranteed to have more than 2 wins. The Giants do play the Cowboys again. Washington does play the Cowboys again. But I really don't want to be thrown into all those crazy permutations. I'll root against my team there. But I'm not going to root for them to go winless. If they need to be winless to get Trevor Lawrence, fine. But even if both teams finish with 1 win, I think it's possible that the Jets can move up 1 spot. As it stands right now, the Jaguars hold the strength of schedule tiebreaker. But that can change. That changes every week. No, I'm not going to root against my team yet. I don't think we're at that point. It is still very possible for the Jets to get 1 win and for the Jaguars to get 2. And even if they both finish with 1, strength of schedule can change every week. The Jets can still get the first overall pick. Moreover, if the Jets end up with the second overall pick and the Jaguars get the first overall pick, I think it's very possible that the Jets can move up 1 spot. Again, the issue with the Jaguars isn't their offense. It's their absolutely dreadful defense. I think they'd be open to the possibility of moving down 1 spot. They can take Patrick Surtain II. They can take another defensive player with the Seahawks pick. If you need to throw in Quinnen Williams, I'm okay with it. I don't want to go winless. I want to go 1-15 and get the first overall pick. I don't care how you get that first overall pick. I want Trevor Lawrence. I don't care what the Jets have to do to get him. But I'll tell you, I don't want to go winless. If it gets to the point where the Jets are 0-15 and the Jaguars are 1-14, and the Jaguars own the strength of schedule tiebreaker, then, yeah, go Patriots. Because the Jets close out the season against the Patriots. Then I'm okay with going winless. But as of right now, we're not at that point. The Jets didn't need to lose this game to still be in prime position to get Trevor Lawrence. They just didn't. If you can't see that, you're not as smart as you think you are. Alright, now I'll give you some hockey Valk talk. Specifically, the Stars locking up Roope Hintz for 3 years at $9.45 million. This is a good move for the Stars. Hintz is a really good young player in this league. His rookie year, he had 22 points in 58 games. This year, he almost scored 20 goals. He had 33 points in 60 games. And he's shown a knack for showing up in the playoffs. 2 years ago, he had 8 points in 13 games. Last year, 13 points in 25 games. For the Stars to have a young player like Hintz, he's 24 years old, who isn't afraid of the bright lights, is absolutely invaluable. I like the Stars' second line. I like Denis Gurianov. I like Hintz a lot. As it stands right now, it's probably going to be Jason Robertson on that second line right wing. I know that Robertson is a very highly thought of prospect. I don't know too much about him, but hey, if you put those three young guns together, I think it can work. It worked with Gurianov. It worked with Hintz. It can work with Robertson. This is a really good move for the Stars. A little over $3 million a year is more than fair for a really talented second liner. And the Stars are set up really well for the future. I do want to talk about a death that I missed yesterday. He died over the weekend, and I don't know how I missed him. And that is Howie Meeker, who died on Sunday at the age of 97. He died on the 8th. His birthday is the 4th. 4 days after his 97th birthday, he passed away. Meeker did it all in life. NHL player, member of the Canadian Parliament, got into coaching, got into broadcasting. He did everything. He started his NHL career in the 46-47 season. He went on to win the Calder Trophy. He scored 27 goals and 45 points. And the Leafs won the Stanley Cup that year as Meeker led all NHLers in playoff games played with 11. In those 11 games, he had 6 points. The year after that, the Leafs repeated as Cup champions. Meeker had 34 points. And it seemed like he was going to turn into a really good second or third liner. Unfortunately, on December 27th, 1947, Meeker would suffer a really bad collarbone injury. He was never the same afterwards. In 49-50, he had 40 points in 70 games, but he lost a lot of his toughness, a lot of his physical play. He was really a shell of his former self. In 50-51, he won his 4th Stanley Cup. In 48-49, the Leafs won the Cup also. So Meeker does have 4 Stanley Cups. He just didn't play in the 48-49 playoffs. But he did play in the 50-51 playoffs. He only scored 2 points in 11 games. But those 11 games did lead all NHLers in playoff games played. He finished his career as a 3-time All-Star and tying an NHL record for most goals scored by a rookie in a single game with 5. At the end of his Leafs career, he ran for Parliament, and he won. He served 2 years in the Canadian Parliament. So while he was playing games for the Leafs, he was a progressive conservative MP. In the 70s, he got into television. On the CBC, he did Howie Meeker's Hockey School, which taught kids the basics of the game. And after that, he got into commentating. He was the color commentator on Hockey Night in Canada for a long time. And he was a revolutionary, went really in depth, more in depth than a lot of people. Used the telestrator more than anyone. Him and John Madden really pioneered that. He won the Foster Hewitt Memorial Award in 1998 for excellence in hockey broadcasting. That same year, he was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame as a broadcaster. Was a member of the Order of Canada. He's in the Ontario Sports Hall of Fame. He was the fastest Maple Leaf to ever score 25 career goals until Austin Matthews came around. Yes, I'm skipping over his 1 year as Leafs coach because I think he would want me to. He had a fantastic career. It's kind of fun to speculate how good he could have been if he didn't suffer that terrible injury in practice. But regardless, he accomplished more than most of us could ever possibly dream of. May he rest in peace. Tomorrow, you're going to get the NBA mock draft special that I'm going to do with Nick Warnberger. That's going to be the whole show. It's just going to be our 2-round NBA mock draft. The parameters are the same as our NFL mock draft. I'll explain them more in depth tomorrow, but if you want a sneak peek, you can search out the 2020 NFL mock draft that we did. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying, I know the name, but I can't replace the face.